Welcome back to the Reboot Era, where real stories meet real transitions. Today, I'm joined by a Jaden Coleman, someone I've known since she was a high school junior, and who's just graduated college with a marketing degree and is stepping into the real world with curiosity, courage, and a whole lot of hustle. From internships and salon gigs to job reactions and portfolio upgrades, she walks us through what it really feels like to be a recent grad in today's job market. Let's dive in.
My name's Jaden Coleman. I just graduated from the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth 2 months ago, and my major was in marketing. I had a minor in management. Since I graduated, I've been working for a salon, doing more of their operations management, a little bit of marketing, but it's kind of just my first step, and I'm really excited. I've been applying to jobs still. I'm really excited to kind of start my journey, but it definitely has been a little bit of a shaky start, I would say.
Yeah. And we're going to dive into that, I hope. But I always like to just backtrack with people first and say, how do we know each other? Let's talk about how we know each other, because people always wonder if I, met someone online and I just messaged them, or if I knew them in my life. And so do you want to share how we know each other?
Definitely. I know Dre because he's good friends with my mom and for a long time now. And I first met you when I was a senior in high school, maybe a junior.
Yeah, I think you were a junior when we first met, and then but we really got time to connect when you graduated.
I graduated high school, yes. And it's funny because the conversations we had when I graduated high school, I more of was sad, I'm missing my friends, and didn't really think too much about what I was doing with the rest of my life. And those conversations that we had, I definitely was okay, it's really time to figure out what you want to do. Where do you want to go to school? What's the long-term goals? So those really opened my eyes, those conversations. And after that, I did an internship with you, and that was another huge opportunity.
Well, before we get there even, right, let's paint the picture for people. Where were we? We're from New England, right? You live in Massachusetts. I lived in Rhode Island at the time. And then I moved across the country, and we met up in California for your graduation. And we were in LA.
We were in Los Angeles.
And our conversation wasn't just we did have a pool at our Airbnb, but it wasn't just sitting at the pool talking. We were in a convertible. We were just driving down the road, chit-chatting about life and career stuff and if she should get a tattoo or not.
Yes.
And we've come, full circle to the point where I started a little business and needed some help, and she helped me tremendously. And then, just followed her journey. But it is crazy to think that you're probably the first person I know who I talked to you but fresh graduating high school, going into college, what you were doing, worked with you, and then now I got to see you graduate and be in the real world.
Crazy.
Yeah, now go ahead and continue. So we worked together, and then what else?
We worked together, and you really taught me. You were my first job and internship. So first experience with hands-on marketing and all things that I was going to school for. So I think first of all, I've learned a lot from you. Even back when I was 18 and just graduated high school and had no idea I couldn't even tell you what marketing was or business, any of that during those years. Fast forward to the internship, I learned a lot about marketing and research and social media and content and editing. So you taught me a lot about that, and now we're here.
Yeah. And so after the internship, you went back to school.
Yes.
And did you work anywhere else?
During my time at UMass Dartmouth, I had 2 other internships very similar to the one with you. So it was a lot of social media marketing, competitor research, all things that I was learning in school at the time. But I definitely felt more confident because of our time together. And those 2 companies were more marketing for something that I wasn't too passionate about. It was the basics and the things that I needed to know, but it was all pretty similar, and it was all based around social media, definitely.
Got it. And then you graduated recently.
Yes.
Last month? Did you graduate last month?
Yes.
Okay.
Mid-May.
Graduated mid-May. And then did you start working for the salon right there, or were you working for them a little bit before your graduation?
I started working there in March. Beginning of March. So technically I graduated in December. I graduated a semester early, but there's only one graduation ceremony, so we kind of,
So you walked in May.
I walked in May, but I was done with school in December and then immediately started looking for jobs. A lot of internships that I would see people having, that would be their job after school, and that was not the case for me. So as soon as December came around, January, I started looking for jobs, and this one came up in not the most professional way. It was through Instagram and through kind of just connections, and so I took it, and it's kind of just been more operations back end work for the salon and extension line.
And is it something that you want to stay in for the next few years, or is this like the first step, but you're open to, is it full time? I guess I should start there.
It is.
It's full time. So are you looking for a job still, or are you, this is good for now?
I'm looking for a job still.
Okay.
I think it's something for me, I wanted to kind of jump right in and take the first thing that I saw I was somewhat interested in. For me, it was the industry, and I really enjoy the beauty industry, whether it's hair, makeup, skincare, all of that. So my goal was to kind of take my degree and insert myself in that industry. I kind of just jumped on it, but I think I'm definitely still looking. I'm currently still looking. I have been. So for me, it was kind of just like a foot in the door.
Yeah. And where are you? I mean, I think that's awesome, but where are you looking, right? Maybe talk a little bit about what that job search looks like for you as someone who's recently graduated. What platforms are you using? Where are you finding jobs?
I'm mostly using LinkedIn right now. Indeed. I feel like I'm looking for anything just because anything that piques my interest, but I also feel like I don't want to be super picky because they're super picky. So it's been anything that's I feel like I can qualify for, and I also feel like my biggest thing is a lot of these companies want a lot of experience, and it's hard to get experience when everyone wants experience in a way. And the internships I have, and I feel like I do have experience throughout university, but that's probably been the most difficult thing is finding companies that are okay with like newly grads, and it's hard to see other people having their internships in May and like the end of their school and then just jumping into a job through them, and then versus me who graduated, my internships were over in December, kind of picking up from there.
You're right. So it's kind of like you're in a different track, you're in a different space.
Exactly.
And it is tough to see that go on. It's been a while since I've been a recent, graduated student who's new on the market and has no job experience. But I was the first bucket you're talking about, right? I had an internship and it turned into a job. So I get it. Now, with that, is it hard to find jobs because what they're asking for is 3 to 5 years of experience or something, and it's just like you don't have that? Or is it like you aren't even finding jobs that you can apply, like that are applicable for your skill set?
I would say a mix of both. I've seen a lot of bachelor's degree, 3 to 5 years of experience. But I've also seen just a bachelor's degree or maybe just an associate's degree and I'm like, okay, like I'm not qualified for this, and it's still the rejections and it's still not hearing back. So that's been a little bit difficult. So I would say yes, a mix of both, but majority is 3 to 5 years of experience, and it's hard to gauge if you can use those internships in college as 3 to 5 years of experience. I made a marketing portfolio.
Nice.
So I've been adding and editing that as well as my resume every single time. So it's a lot of work, and I think it's starting to become a little more discouraging lately.
Where did you, before we hop into like the discouragement, where did you make your portfolio from? Like, talk a little bit about that.
I did a lot of research. I used a lot of Pinterest, TikTok. A lot of people have made TikToks going through, oh, hey, I'm a newly grad, and this is what my portfolio looked like and what they liked about it and how I got my current job. So I did a lot of that, and I used Canva to create it, and I got a lot of inspiration from others that I saw who had a marketing major and had done some like graphic design and editing and content, and kind of just put it together like that.
Got it. And is that linked on your LinkedIn right now?
It's not.
You should link it on your LinkedIn so that people can see your portfolio when they go to search you or they come across your profile. So do you feel like your LinkedIn right now is optimized for finding an opportunity?
I don't.
You don't think so? Okay.
I don't think so. I think I can be more, I'm not as active as I want to be. That's something that I have struggled with a little bit, but I also didn't personally see the importance until I graduated, which is something that I regret because I go back and I look at classmates and professors and I look at their pages and I'm like, they've been active this whole time and I haven't. So I feel a little behind in that way. And that could possibly be a reason why when I applied through LinkedIn and they see how inactive I am, maybe that's deterring some jobs from looking into me more.
I can't say yes or no to that, but what I will say is it's never too late to work on your LinkedIn, to get it up to date, to add people, even if they're strangers on the internet, right? Add them to your LinkedIn, connect with them. There's someone I met with recently who said, your network is your net worth. And I was like, I've never heard that before, but I really liked it. And it's true because who you know, you never know where that might lead.
Right.
So I would definitely recommend updating your LinkedIn, staying on there a little bit more and engaging with people. Add that portfolio that you can link. And if you ever need help with it, let me know because, I'm always willing to help and show you. But that aside, where do you want to be? Do you want to be in Boston? Do you want to be in Florida? I know we had talked about it a few times, but for anyone who listens to this, where would you like to be located?
There's a few places I have in mind when I hear that. I think I'm starting to really love Boston and I'm starting to love things that I've seen lately in Boston and the opportunities and the people I know. And I think there is just a lot of opportunity in the city and in Boston, and I love Boston. I love Florida, and I've always wanted to move to Florida. And I would say Chicago, too. I've been looking at Chicago and applying to jobs at all these places, but I would say if I were to dream big, it would be one of those three.
Got it. So Boston, and you said, where was the second place?
Boston, Florida, like a city in Florida. I've applied to jobs in Tampa, Miami, and Chicago.
Okay, so Boston, a big city in Florida, and Chicago. Now, you haven't heard back from these jobs, or are you hearing back and getting an interview and you're just not making it to the next round? Like, talk a little bit about what's happened after you submit the application.
Majority of the time I hear back, but it's we went with another candidate and we're not moving forward with you. And there's been times where I do get an interview, which happened recently. And then after that, it's kind of the same thing. We've interviewed other people and we're moving forward with them and no real other explanation. So I've had those experiences, and then I've had experiences where I just haven't heard anything back after submitting an application and writing a cover letter. And I've also noticed too, sometimes not hearing back and then seeing it's reposted on LinkedIn or seeing that it's not closed yet or they're still looking. But those I think is what happens the most for me.
Yeah, and those are going to follow you throughout your career of looking for a job, unfortunately. But with that said, don't let it discourage you because we're all going through it. I'm recently laid off as of 6 weeks ago, and it's the exact same thing for me. Someone who's not freshly graduated, someone with experience, same exact boat. So, don't feel ashamed. What I will say is focus on the things you can do now to make yourself a better applicant. And I think taking that portfolio step is really important, being able to showcase the work that you've done, updating your LinkedIn to show, here's all of the great work that I've done and documenting it there. Not constantly updating your resume, but have you asked for feedback on your resume from any of these people and just seen what they say? Just from the perspective of like keyword searches, right? Do you have the right keywords? Do you have a keyword section? If not, maybe that's something you entertain. What about certifications? You have a degree, and I know it can be frustrating to be like, I just graduated. Why should I go get a degree, like another certification? But if you're not working or you're not really doing stuff in the career path that you're in, that's going to showcase how you're growing, it's worthwhile exploring even free certifications that you can obtain.
I agree, definitely. I have a few HubSpot, those certifications, which I think is a really cool tool to add to my resume. And I have a section in my portfolio for that as well. I also think I've struggled with finding other platforms to apply to jobs.
I just made a YouTube video about this. I had reviewed 13 different platforms that are good for all types of different things, both the job search, if you're looking for full-time and part-time roles, things like LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster, Dice. If you're looking for freelancing gigs like Upwork, Fiverr, freelancer.com. And then there's actually specific ones. There was one that I found that was geared toward recent graduates, and it's all they're looking for. So they aren't looking for people who have, 3, 5, 8 years of experience. They're looking for recently graduated individuals, which definitely can help you potentially stand out. There's an app that I found recently called, I think it's JobGet or GetJob. I always get it wrong. Let me look at my phone real quick. It is called JobGet, yes. And it's definitely more for the hourly, everyday worker, blue collar, but it doesn't hurt to hop on and just see what's out there. Maybe there is something in marketing that's nearby for you, in person or remote or hybrid. What are you looking for?
Ideally, hybrid.
Okay, so a couple days in the office.
Yes, I think for me, it's important motivation-wise, and seeing people in person, talking in person, connecting with people in person is so much more effective, in my opinion. But also having that flexibility of being able to work from home and being able to fit in things for myself in that work week is also important.
Okay, so we know where, we know what type of in-person, remote kind of job area you want to be in. Now, what about the actual job itself? Do you want to do makeup? Do you want to do social media? Like what kind of industry do you think you want to be in from a marketing standpoint?
I would say I do really enjoy social media, and I enjoy looking at trends and being a part of that and creating content, and editing and researching and seeing what other people are doing. I would say at this time, my dream job would be working at like Sephora or Ulta headquarters and being on their marketing team and working and collaborating with a lot of people who are super creative and just throw their ideas and brainstorm out there. That sounds like a dream to me, and then just being able to do something that I like, because that is the beauty industry, and makeup and all of that is something that I like personally, and then being able to bring that to a professional and work environment, I think would make me happy and be really exciting. That is a goal of mine, and that's also why I have the current position I have right now, is because to me, I think it's something, even if it's not all marketing and it's a lot of operations and that side, I think it's helping me in a way, definitely.
Got it.
I think that's also been a thing for me, is not realizing how many people want to help you, especially like when you're in college or you just recently graduated college. There was one of my favorite professors told all of us, it was my last semester, just that they were like, we're all here to help you. And like, we all know exactly the position you're in. And this is a position where there is a lot of opportunity, and we're still just learning, and we're ending our time at school. So it's a huge transition, but I think now more than ever, I've realized everyone wants to help and everyone wants to teach you what they know, because they've all been where I am right now.
Yeah. The power of your network. That seems to be a reoccurring theme, as this is the first few episodes that I'm putting together. The power of your network is huge. And even if you just meet someone who knows someone who knows someone, it's crazy how many people, in your immediate circle of people that you might not know a CEO, you might not know someone who is very high up at a Fortune 500 company, or even working in the area that you want to work at. But if you think about all the people you know and then all the people they know, I guarantee you can find somebody who knows somebody in an industry that you want to work in a company you want to work in, right? So that's the power of talking to your network and continuing to just share the things that you're doing. So hopefully you can get out there. Now, what about startups? I don't know. When I was graduating, I was like, absolutely not. I would never do that. And I just got to the smallest company I've ever worked for. And I'm like going in reverse. I'm like, absolutely not. I'll never do that again. I want to work for a Fortune 500 company, big, very easy. What's your take on startup cultures?
So that's kind of what I've been involved in currently. The salon I work for, the owner owns a startup, and it's a hair extension line. And I really like startups, and I personally I just like to believe in everybody. And when I see motivated people, and I feel like in this position, I'm around motivated people every day, it makes me believe in them 10 times more. And I like it. I think it's inspiring. And I think if somebody wants to start a company and start a business, I would be happy to be a part of it if I see something in it and I see how passionate they are. And that's kind of what's happening now. I see the owner and my boss, and I see how passionate and how hard they work every day, and kind of the behind the scenes and everything that goes into it and the reason for it. So I think if I, agree and I see the passion behind it, I 100%, I love startups, and I think that people should go for it. And I can understand how working for it is a little, it's like iffy, and you don't know where it's going, and everyone's learning every single day, and it's growing every single day, or maybe it's not growing every single day, and it's kind of shaky waters, but I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. So with being a recent grad, I think another question that comes to mind from people, I'm again 8 years, 9 years into my career, and when I was in university, AI wasn't a thing that was widely talked about, and I don't think I even talked about it or heard about it. Maybe heard about like one day this would be a thing. ChatGPT didn't exist yet, from the perspective of like I didn't know about it and no one in my school was using it, but in the last few years it's really ramped up. So in university and being a recent grad, do they teach you about these tools? Do you know anything about them from your classwork, or is it something that you've explored outside of school to get an understanding?
It was introduced to me in class, and I knew AI, and I knew a little bit about it, but things like ChatGPT and like the actual inner workings of like what you can ask and what you can do with AI, I was introduced to during class by a professor. And then I noticed, I would say the last year at university more than ever, I noticed everybody using it, and I noticed how powerful it is, and how easy it is to just incorporate it in every day. Almost, you would go into class or you'd walk around the library and I would see everyone has a ChatGPT tab open on their computer. So I would say this past year more than ever, I definitely used it more and learned it more, but it was introduced to me by a professor, and I had a lot of professors and, classmates and people encouraging it and saying, oh, if you do use this, state that you used it. And it's, everyone is, and it's very common.
Yeah, it's true. In the real world, it is something that maybe in the startup culture, they might not leverage it as much. But I will say, depending on the startup, machine learning and AI is a very hot topic in, careers that are, I guess, more historically just you went to work, you did your 9 to 5 and you went home. They're even implementing it there as well to make, production faster, give you more capacity to do more things, and really reduce the amount of time you're spending on tasks that are redundant and monotonous. So it's important that you definitely keep up to speed with that. Now, if you don't have any like large degree or relevant experience at school with it, it doesn't hurt to go get a certification in that, because that's another way that you could stand out. And if you're currently employed, paying for a certification can be a really great way to stand out, because typically those don't expire, or if they do, you have to do a certain thing, over the course of a year or two in order to keep the certification. So I would encourage you to go look and see what's out there. Use ChatGPT to see what's out there.
When you say AI certification, can you give me an example? Like, what would you be certified in? Just learning more about?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a degree, right? So you go to school and you take a course, and your course was marketing 101, let's just say. Like, whatever you learned in marketing 101 is things that you should be putting on your resume and saying that like this coursework gave me these skill sets. And so you can see the input and the output and basically the result of doing that. So certifications are very similar. Now, some, to your point, are very straightforward. Program management, it's a PMP, right? Project Management Professional is what it stands for. It's something that a lot of people go and get. And it basically says that you know how to run a project effectively, and you know how to weigh the pros and cons, and you understand risks and issues. And if you get that certification, it shows prospective employers that, hey, this person continued their learning, did this thing, and should be qualified to run projects effectively. When we think about AI, there's certifications out there that maybe say that you have a foundational understanding of how AI works, right? Because you and I use it. Do we know how it works? Maybe, maybe not. that certification shows that you took courses, you took learning opportunities to increase the knowledge you have around the topic. And now, let's say you went to Ulta and you had an interview and they were like, we do these types of things and we use Canva a lot. How can you tell us about a time that you did this thing with Canva? And you can say, not only have I used Canva, but I understand that there's an AI aspect to Canva where I actually utilize AI to create, a list of foundational templates for me that are customized based off of keywords, specific directions that I give or input, right? It shows you have a better understanding than someone who's like, oh yeah, I know what Canva is.
Right. Okay.
So you can, and what I shared earlier to someone else actually as well, depending on where this episode lands, you can always use ChatGPT or any AI bot to have a conversation and start with what kind of prompt you should input. So you could ask and say, I want to do some research around the best certifications for someone who has a recent degree in marketing and wants to focus on social media and also leverage AI. And then say, write me a prompt that I can input into a deep research tool. It will give you the prompt. Just read through it and make sure you're good with it. Make any tweaks that you want to make. Then go over. You can use ChatGPT for the deep research, or you could use some other tools. I really like Gemini. They have an awesome deep research tool that you can use. And when you do that, it will take you maybe 10 minutes. It will run it, pull. It scrubs 170, 300 different websites depending on the topic, and it will then condense a report for you, similar to how, I think I shared with you a business plan that I was writing and going through.
Mhm.
It took me a long time because I was doing all that manually.
Right.
But now it can spit out a 30-page business plan or idea or things to consider in 10 minutes. So it's
Wow.
crazy. And then you might even get recommendations that are very clear. And you can be like, okay, cool. I can take these 10 certifications and this is where I can take them. This is how much they'll cost me. And if I do that, here's maybe how much more I could ask for when I go through negotiations with a prospective employer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
So
crazy.
powerful for sure.
Very
And
powerful.
I wish they would
That's
teach more
scary.
of this.
Yes. I wish they would too.
But it doesn't stop you from going and learning those things. And I think the quicker you can get out ahead of it, the better you'll probably be out there. Now, it does have some dilemma with like the creative aspect. It can be creative, absolutely. You can draw, you can create images and stuff with it, but you still need a human, for a lot of different things when it comes to AI. But that being said, what other things do you feel like you are focusing on right now? I guess outside of your 9 to 5, outside of the job search, how do you keep your mental health happy? How do you not get discouraged from applying anymore? Like, are you doing things? Do you run? Do you go to the gym? Are you a coach? Do you have a second job?
I have a second job. I'm a server at a restaurant, and I think I do this to make more money and save more money. And I think we all know how expensive everything is. So that's also another thing that's been super intimidating post grad is, okay, are you gonna move out? Are you gonna wait for a job? There's just so many things that are up in the air and so many questions of what the next step is. Saving money has been a hobby. I don't know if that counts, but I think working that second job and also trying to, spend time with my friends and take little trips. That's always been my thing. I do love to travel. So I've been trying to fit in some trips here and there. Walking. I've been going on walks. Being outside has helped. It's been nice out. So I
It's been
think
hot in Boston, I've heard.
it's been really hot, but I take that over the cold because when it gets cold, it gets really cold.
Yeah,
So,
true.
and the sun brings more happiness all around. So I think I've been doing that outside of work and just kind of trying to go with the flow, and not stress, but also see what's out there at the same time.
I think those are all healthy and good things. And hopefully you have some cool trips coming up. Any that you want to talk about? Any cool trips that you're coming up or anything that you're planning that you're like, we haven't set the date, but I definitely want to do this in 2025?
I haven't set the date, but I really want to do Japan.
I was going to say, did you guys go to Japan?
No,
I didn't see pictures.
Back in end of April, beginning of March to Costa Rica.
Okay. I saw some of those pictures.
Graduation trip gift. And then last month was Europe. So I went for a week and a half, 2 weeks, Spain, Italy, and Malta.
By yourself? With friends? With your family? Okay. Okay.
It was a little post-grad trip with me and my friends. So that was a big trip. So I think we're like taking a break. We're doing small little ones here and there because that definitely was a lot of time and money, but it was very much worth it. And it was a nice way to celebrate being done with college.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I hope those trips were amazing. So with everything that you've shared so far about all the things you've done, just recently graduating, looking for new jobs, starting your job, which is awesome, taking all your trips. What about grad school? What about additional education, not just certifications? Have you put any thought into that? And is there any value in like going and getting higher education before you have any work experience?
I have put a lot of thought into grad school for the past 3-ish months. And the biggest thing for me was money and if I wanted to be more and more in debt. Thankfully, I'm not in debt from my bachelor degree, but I knew if I wanted to go to grad school, I wanted it to be a grad school that I could only dream of or really, really wanted to go to. So I went through a few options and Boston University was like my top dream school, if you were to say. So I thought about it and I also took into account, do I want to do this just because I'm not finding a job right now? Do I want to do this just because it feels like a next step that makes sense for me? So that's why I did put a lot of thought in it and I am going. And I think my reasoning for deciding to go to grad school and deciding to go there despite the cost is the location. Like we talked about before, Boston is a place that I could see myself living and having a career there. I think I thought long and hard about the cost is an investment in something that I love, which is education. And I think you can't really put a price tag if you're learning and you're going there and you're doing everything to the best of your ability. So I think education is super important to me.
Just to be clear, for those who are listening, you're officially going to grad school, and are you getting an MBA? Are you getting a master's? What are you going for?
I'm going for a master's degree in it's global marketing and management.
That's awesome. And when are you expected to graduate if you're going part-time?
Part-time, I believe it's 2.5 years. So I'm going to start this fall 2025.
Right around end of 2027, beginning 2028, you should be done with school and have a master's degree.
Yes.
Now, if you found a position full-time, because this is a part-time master's program, you would be able to take a new full-time position and work like 9 to 5.
Correct, yes. That was another reason why, and another thing that I took into account because I kind of went through those steps of thinking about where do you see yourself living and do you see yourself spending all this money on school?
Hopefully you learn some amazing things and update that LinkedIn so you can network while you're there. Every professor, every student you meet, you never know where that will go. And definitely tap into your what you went to UMass Dartmouth and then your Boston University networks as you start joining and meeting people so that you can find a job.
Absolutely.
I like to ask everyone before we end an episode, are you open to people who resonate with your story connecting with you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's see how many connections we can get you. Let's see if we can find you some connections that will ideally help you into whatever your next steps are. And I'm looking forward to seeing your portfolio.
Yes, I'm doing that. I'm putting it on LinkedIn right after this.
Good. It'll be cool to review. That's a wrap of this episode on the Reboot Era. Jaden's journey is a reminder that the path after graduation isn't always linear, but it's still forward. If her story resonated with you, connect with her on LinkedIn and send her some encouragement, or maybe even an opportunity. And as always, don't forget to like, share, or leave a review if you're navigating your own reboot. Until next time, keep evolving.